Welcome to the Learning for Legacy show with me, your host, Afam Onyenakala. This is all about the concept of making generational wealth understandable, practical, and accessible. I'll be exploring a range of topics and sharing conversations, interviews, and more. Because what good is building wealth if we don't build the people? Welcome everyone to another edition of Learning for Legacy. I'm very happy to have you here joining me again for another edition of the show. Now, if you've enjoyed the content that you've heard on this podcast up to date, feel free to subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, which is Legacy Learning TV. And also, there's a free gift for all of you here, whereby if you go to www.legacylearning.co.uk/newsletter, you are able to download a free wealth report as a thank you from us here. So on last week's show, we looked at 3 uses of the mind to build a positive mental attitude for success. And I'm now going to look at part 2 of this session, all about how the words that you allow into your life can influence your destiny. So effectively, the words that you decide to live under can ultimately influence your destiny. And we're going to look at the way this actually works itself out over time. Now, there are a number of ways people have looked at this, but the overreaching arc of how this translates tends to go in this fashion. The words that you hear can influence, number 2, the thoughts you have, which can then influence, number 3, your emotions, which then has a direct impact on, number 4, your will or your decisions. This then translates itself to number 5, an action. And this action performed over time becomes number 6, your habits. And your habits over time form number 7, your character. And your character played out over a period of time will ultimately lead to number 8, your destiny. So we've got 1, your words, 2, your thoughts, 3, your emotions, 4, your decisions, 5, your actions, 6, your habits, 7, your character, and 8, your destiny. So how is this going to work its way in the everyday activities that we take part in? So if we look at who we are as people, the essence of who we are as humans, you can break it down into 3 parts. We are effectively spiritual beings with a soul living within a body. So when we consider these 3 interconnected components, you can then look at this. You can look at the voices that each part exhibit in this fashion. So your spirit, you have your conscience. So you can consider your conscience to be the voice of your spirit, and your reasonings you can consider to be the voice of your soul, and your feelings you can also consider to be the voice of your body. So how does the journey of the words that come across our way manifest itself to a destination that we can ultimately end up in? And that destination, in the context of this show, we are talking about the topic of generational wealth. But this principle can be adopted in any other fashion. So going back again, if we look at the words that come across our way, words can be considered as external stimuli. These external thoughts, ideas, positive or negative, that come our way. So The words that come across our way effectively are captured in our mind, and these words translate themselves to thoughts. And this is where we capture our attention and our focus in the realm of our conscious and subconscious mind. So in this part of our body, this part of our essence, as it were, which we consider the soul, we have our mind, our emotions, our will, our imaginations, and our intellect. So in the mind, again, this is where the thoughts capture our attention and our focus. And this can then be translated through to our emotions. And these are the feelings that induce or activate behavior. And from this point onwards, we then activate our will. And this is an intention or a commitment to act, effectively a decision. And also within our soul, we have our imagination and we have our intellect. Now, our imaginations, you can split this into two parts. We have synthetic imagination. This is where we arrange old concepts and ideas or plans into new combinations. But we also have what's known as a creative imagination. This is where we have external ideas, insights, and solutions that come into our spirit. And as I touched on in the previous episode, our spirit is what you could also consider it to be as your superconscious mind. Your spirit is that part of you, that essence of who you are, where everything about you is already encoded. And within our spirit, this is where we have communication from and to with God or infinite intelligence. So going back again, we've got words that come into our mind, whether positive or negative. And these words effectively produce our thoughts and can produce thoughts which affect our emotions. These are feelings which induce and activate behavior, translated into our will, our commitment to act or make a decision. And from here, a decision then corresponds itself from our soulish part of our essence into our body. This is where we take number 5, an action or a physical translation of the will. And these actions performed over a period of time will influence our habits. And then these habits executed over a period of time form our character. And our character has a direct influence into our destiny or our ultimate destination. So on this journey towards generational wealth, and as I've mentioned in the previous episode and in times before, wealth is derived from the Old English word weal, which translates to mean welfare or well-being. So if generational wealth and that derivative of success is achieved from the accumulation of being well, then a part of that is us also being very careful and deliberate about the words we allow into our lives and how these words can then ultimately influence and have a direct outcome on our destiny or our destination. So when we look at success and growth and personal development, strategy is very important, because by executing the correct strategies, we can get from A to B and get the result we're looking for. But mindset has a very important part to play here. We can't execute strategies effectively if we don't have our minds right, or if we don't have a balanced mindset. So again, by looking at this process of how the words we decide to allow into our lives, or the words that come across our way that we decide to either dwell and meditate on or ignore, it's very important for us to understand how these words can ultimately affect and influence our outcomes. So again, we look at the process of how that plays out again. So the words influence our thoughts, which influence our, number 3, our emotions, which affect our will and decisions. That's number 4. These decisions then ultimately translate themselves into, number 5, an action. These actions performed or executed consistently form, number 6, our habits. Our habits over time have a direct influence on, number 7, our character. And our character ultimately has a lot to do with our destination or our destiny. Thanks for listening to Learning for Legacy. To join our community or find out about what else we get up to, you can follow us on Twitter at Legacy Learning or on our website at www.legacylearning.co.uk. To access additional content or exclusives from this particular episode, please find the information within the show notes.